She leaned across the bar and said it like it was nothing.
I should probably tell you, I'm married.
I set my glass down. She smiled. Didn't look away.
Does that change things?
I looked at her for a long moment. It should have. It didn't. Chapter 1. After the breakup. 32 years old and starting over is a specific kind of exhausting. Sarah and I had been together for 4 years, long enough that marriage had stopped being a hypothetical and started being a conversation. When, not if. Then the when kept getting pushed back. Work got in the way, the conversations turned sharp, and one evening it just ended. Not dramatically, just quietly, the way things do when two people have been holding on out of habit rather than intention. After that, the apartment felt wrong. Too quiet. Too much space for one person. My friend Chris took me out for drinks about 3 weeks after.
You need to get back out there.
He said, somewhere in the middle of the second round.
Seriously, you're not 25 anymore. You can't just wait for something to happen.
I'm not waiting. I'm just...
Moping. You're moping. There's a difference.
He pulled out his phone.
Here, this app. People in your area, similar age range. It's not weird, everyone's doing it. Just download it.
I downloaded it mostly to get him to stop talking about it. Then I opened it and kept opening it. Chapter 2. The Match. Her profile photo showed a woman with dark hair and pale skin and a smile that was somewhere between warm and slightly dangerous. Older than me by 2 years. Same neighborhood. I wasn't expecting much. I sent a message anyway. She replied within minutes.
Finally, someone who can put a sentence together. Do you know how rare that is on here?
I'm setting a low bar.
You're clearing it comfortably. What are you actually looking for? And don't say just seeing what's out there, because that's what everyone says when they don't want to answer.
I liked her immediately. We talked for 2 hours that first night. She was funny in the specific way that comes from not particularly caring what people think. Quick, a little sharp, willing to say things most people dance around. By the end of it, I'd agreed to meet her for coffee the following Saturday. I went in with low expectations. Chapter 3. The Cafe. She was already there when I arrived. Better than the photo. That's the honest assessment. The photo was good, but in person there was something the camera hadn't quite captured. The way she held herself. The directness of her eye contact when she looked up and smiled.
You're exactly what I expected, which is rare. Most people are either better or worse. You're just... accurate.
Is accurate good?
Accurate is great. Accurate means I can trust my instincts.
We had coffee, then moved to a bar nearby because neither of us wanted the afternoon to end. The conversation kept finding new directions, easy, unforced, the kind that makes 2 hours feel like 40 minutes. Then she set her glass down and said,
I should probably tell you something before this goes further. I don't want you to feel misled.
Okay.
I'm married.
I looked at her.
My husband took a job posting 3 hours away about a year into our marriage. I stayed for work. We're technically still married, but we're barely in contact. He comes back maybe once a month, sometimes less. I'm not looking to leave him. It's complicated. But I'm also not going to sit in that apartment alone and pretend I'm not lonely.
She held my gaze steadily.
So now you know. Does that change things?
I thought about leaving. I thought about Chris telling me to get back out there. I thought about 4 weeks of a too-quiet apartment. No, I said. It doesn't change things. She smiled.
Good, because I've been having the best afternoon I've had in months, and I wasn't ready for it to end.
Chapter 4. Her apartment. We had 3 more drinks. By the time we left the bar, the evening had that warm, slightly unreal quality that good alcohol and good company produce. She flagged a cab and looked at me.
Come back to mine. I have better wine than anything they were serving in there, and I'm not ready to go home to an empty apartment.
The cab ride was 20 minutes. Neither of us talked much. Her building was nice. Newer than mine, well-lit lobby, the kind of place that suggested a joint income that hadn't fully adjusted to a de facto separation. She let us in and the apartment opened up around us, well-furnished, carefully arranged, and very quiet. And on the wall above the console table, a framed wedding photo. Vanessa in white, a man beside her, smiling at the camera. Somewhere sunny. Both of them looking like people who believed in the moment they were standing in. I looked at it for a second longer than I meant to.
That's Derek, she said, without looking at the photo. He's a good person. This isn't about him being bad. She handed me a glass of wine. It's just about me being alone.
She was standing close. The apartment was quiet. The wedding photo caught the light from the hallway. And then she kissed me. Not hesitantly, not as a question, but with the focused energy of someone who had made a decision before we left the bar and was done waiting to act on it. That night, with Derek's wedding photo on the wall, in the city quiet outside, and everything that was supposed to matter somehow not mattering in the moment, we stayed up until the early hours of the morning. Afterward, she lay beside me and said,
I forgot what this felt like. Having someone actually here. Someone who wanted to be here. A pause. Derek and I haven't been like this in over a year. I didn't realize how much I missed it until tonight.
I didn't answer. But I stayed until morning. Chapter 5. The Shift. After that night, the dynamic shifted quickly. We agreed, without formally agreeing, that her apartment was too complicated. Derek's things were everywhere, the wedding photo watched from the wall, and there was always the low-level tension of not knowing when he might decide to make the drive back unexpectedly. So she started coming to mine. It worked better. My apartment had no complications, no framed evidence of another life, just two people who had found something in each other that was filling a gap neither of us had fully admitted existed. She was good company outside of everything else, too. Funny, direct, easy to be around. We'd cook together sometimes, watch things, talk for hours. She knew how to make an ordinary evening feel like something worth having. Her things started appearing gradually. A charger on my nightstand. A spare change of clothes in the closet. A specific brand of face wash in my bathroom that I definitely hadn't bought. Small accumulations that happened without discussion. One evening, she was in the kitchen when her phone rang. She glanced at the screen. Her whole posture changed, just slightly, just enough.
It's Derek. Give me a second.
She answered it smoothly, stepping toward the window.
Hey, yeah, I'm just at a friend's. Everything okay?
I stood in the kitchen and listened to her voice stay completely level, warm even, asking about his week, laughing at something he said. When she hung up, she turned back and picked up her wine glass like nothing had interrupted anything.
Sorry about that.
It's fine, I said. But the charger on my nightstand felt suddenly heavier than it had before. Chapter 6. The Saturday he came back. She texted me on a Friday afternoon.
Derek's coming back tomorrow. Just for the weekend. I'll be offline Saturday and Sunday.
I read it twice. Typed back fine. Set the phone down. Spent Saturday doing things that kept my hands busy. Cleaning, laundry, the kind of activity that looks productive but is really just managed distraction. Sunday afternoon, she texted again.
He left early. Can I come over?
She arrived at 4 with a bottle of wine and a specific look on her face. The look of someone who has spent 2 days performing normalcy and is done with the performance.
He wants to come back more often.
She said, sitting on my couch, shoes still on.
He thinks we're drifting. He's not wrong, technically. He just doesn't know why.
What did you say?
I said we'd figure it out.
She looked at me.
I'm not ending things with you. I want to be clear about that. This, whatever this is the only part of my life right now that doesn't feel like maintenance.
I looked at her. At the wine glass in her hand. At the face wash in my bathroom. At the growing collection of small complications accumulating in an apartment that was supposed to be uncomplicated.
You're thinking too hard, she said.
Someone has to.
Not tonight. She reached over and took my hand. Tonight, we don't think.
I let her not think. But later, lying in the dark, I stared at the ceiling and thought about Derek, driving 3 hours back to a marriage he was trying to save. And Vanessa's charger, blinking green on my nightstand. That's where the story ends. Thank you for listening. If this one stayed with you, subscribe, leave a like, and turn on notifications. See you in the next one.